Welcome to Go Green Radio, everybody. I'm really excited that you could join us today because in 18 seasons of being on the air, we started in 2008. What I'm about to talk with you about, we've never really gone into, and it's kind of core to why we even have Go Green Radio. And so today, I'm going to talk about the nonprofit organization, the Go Green Initiative. I formed it back in 2002, and it's the reason why the former founder and president of this radio station, voiceamerica.com, asked me to do a show on his station about all things sustainability. This is the organization behind all that you hear. And though the organization really works with schools, and you're going to hear a lot more about that. We do talk about a lot of sustainability issues, and a lot of the episodes that I've done on Go Green Radio have actually become because I've had some great experts on, and that's how I love to do my show. I love to have conversations, but some of those conversations with experts have become kind of resource materials for some of the projects that we've done with students over the years and whatnot. So today, after all this time, I'm going to explain to you what I do for my day job. Go Green Radio isn't it? It's a fun side gig, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. But what keeps me going is this organization called the Go Green Initiative. And if you're interested, you can open up a new tab in your web browser and go to gogreeninitiative.org. That's our website. So I want to kind of start at the beginning and talk to you a little bit about how the organization was formed and why we exist. Every organization that has a nonprofit designation has to show the IRS that they're a charitable organization, that they serve some greater good and serve some useful purpose in society. And so I kind of want to talk to you guys about what forms the basis of our nonprofit status. Our mission has never changed since 2002, when I first put pen to paper, literally on my kitchen table. The mission of the Go Green Initiative was twofold. First of all, to protect children's health from environmental toxins that might harm them. And secondly, to conserve natural resources for future generations. From the very beginning, this was a very child-centric organization and mission. I recognized at that time I was a young mom of three kids, and one of them was suffering from asthma, and no one in our family had ever suffered from that. And we learned after lots of testing and lots of exploration that the reason she had to go to the emergency room so much is because she was exposed to chemicals at her preschool that were triggering terrible, really scary and life-threatening asthma attacks. And I've talked about this before, but when I did, more research into what was going on with her, I realized that there were millions of children across the country who were suffering similarly, but also suffering other health effects because of things that they were exposed to, not just at school, everywhere, but definitely at school in a place where we could do better. And then I also, at that time, when you become a parent and you start thinking about the future for your children, I started doing a lot of reading and researching about the natural resources that form the foundation of our standard of living. And it doesn't take a genius to realize that a lot of those natural resources are finite, meaning that once we use them up, the earth isn't making them anymore. And I became very concerned about, what is that going to mean for my children and their children as we start to deplete some of these natural resources? And what could we be doing on a large scale to conserve those natural resources? And so at that time, I was a PTA president in my kids' elementary school, and I started working with other PTA and parent advocacy groups to talk about, what could we do about these two things? How could we protect children's health at school? How could we conserve natural resources for them on a large scale? And so that is why the Go Green initiative started in schools. We started working in schools because, first of all, children spend a lot of their waking hours at school, so their health is very much impacted by that time that they spend at school. And schools are big institutions in every community. When you think about the amount of energy that's consumed, the amount of water that is consumed, and the amount of waste that is produced out of school districts, in every community, it's a significant percentage of their utility load in each of those three areas. And so I felt like at the time, if we could really get schools thinking about what they're already thinking about. They're thinking about children's future. I mean, that's the whole reason that we have schools. We're trying to prepare our children and hence our society for a better future by, educating them, doing a great job of educating them. And this idea of conserving natural resources for their future is part and parcel with the same concept of preparing a great future for our children. So that is why we started working in schools. And early on, probably around 2004, 2005, I started working not just with, I live in California, started working not just with the California State PTA, I started working with other state PTAs in Texas and New York and Ohio and Missouri and Florida and Oregon and all over the place very early on. Thank you, Internet. And we started talking about how some of the resolutions that these state PTA organizations were passing to protect children's health, to create a better future for children, were really well aligned to the same thing that I was talking about with the Go Green Initiative. And many of these state PTAs got on board. They endorsed the Go Green Initiative and started sharing the information that I was creating with the schools that were part of their network. And we kind of grew from there. Back in 2005, we formed a partnership with the National School Boards Association. Of course, now they've been around for 85 years. They have a huge network. So, when they started asking me to write articles for their newsletters and their magazine and started, helping to spread some of the information that I was creating, even then on the Go Green website way back in 2005, it started to spread very quickly. And it really wasn't long, probably about 2005, 2006, until we had schools that had registered with the Go Green Initiative on our website from all 50 US states. And then we started to expand around the country. And currently we have schools registered from 73 countries. So that's kind of the genesis of the Go Green Initiative. But I want to talk about what we do and why we do it. So, under this piece of the mission where we talk about protecting children's health from environmental toxins and pollutants at schools, there are really three main focus areas that we work on. We work on indoor air quality, we work on clean drinking water, and we work on healthy food. Each of these focus areas under protecting children's health are separate programs, separate initiatives of their own. And in fact, we recently in the last year got a grant to do some pretty big work on indoor air quality. Though we have been talking about and doing some, small localized work on improving indoor air quality in schools, we really never had the funding to staff up and do it on a national level. And just this week, a press release went out. We just were able to name 10 school districts, one from each of the EPA regions, as our first cohort in a 5-year program to actually have the staff capacity to go to those school districts and help them improve indoor air quality through a number of different resources. We've also worked on clean drinking water. I've worked in a lot of school districts where the infrastructure is very old, the buildings are very aged, and with that comes a lot of problems. There can be, of course, problems with the indoor air quality, but can be lead in the water based on, some of the old plumbing fixtures that are in schools. And because those plumbing fixtures would take millions of dollars to go in and rip out and replace, oftentimes schools can have a real problem with lead, even if the water coming from the distribution pipelines from their local communities does not have lead in it. That water running through old plumbing fixtures can bring lead into the water. And so we've done some work there. We've also done work with healthy food. And, one of the things that we've talked about a lot on Go Green Radio is some of the, environmental contaminants, chemicals, and toxins that can be found in our food supply for a number of reasons, whether it's what gets sprayed on it while it's growing, what gets added to it while it's being processed, what it's packaged in. There's a number of different ways that food and drink can become impacted with pollutants and toxins. And so we help school districts think about that. And they think about their supply chain. Where are we getting this food? How do we know that it is free from chemicals and other toxins that might harm children's health? And furthermore, how do we make sure that we package it in a way that isn't going to contaminate the food? I mean, we have talked about this on Go Green Radio a number of times about how, there are serviceware items, little trays that food can be served in, other packaging that have forever chemicals, PFAS in them. And we want to help schools be aware of that and make sure that they're using alternatives so that when they serve up healthy food, it's coming to the schools and coming to the children in a way that's healthy for them. So one of the things that you'll see when you go to our website, gogreeninitiative.org, is you'll see up in the home navigation menu one of the examples of our program offerings that is in this piece of our mission is indoor air quality. And because we have this grant, you'll see a lot of things that we're doing there. We're creating trainings, we're creating webinars, we've got articles, we've got episodes of Go Green Radio. We are out there doing in-person training. And like I mentioned earlier, we have this new cohort of 10 school districts across the US. And so these are the kinds of things that we'd like to replicate with all of our focus areas. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few moments, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. So don't go away, folks. There's more Go Green Radio right after this. Welcome back to Go Green Radio. Thank you so much for joining us today. As I mentioned in the last segment, today we're talking about the nonprofit organization that I started back in 2002. I know what you're thinking. Jill, did you start this when you were 12? You're so young. Thanks. No, I was an adult when I started it, but it's been a long time, 23 years. We've been doing this work, and I really have never devoted an episode of Go Green Radio to talking about what we do with the Go Green Initiative, why this nonprofit is sort of at the heart of everything we do. And Go Green Radio is a big part of what I love to do. But my day job is founder and CEO of the Go Green Initiative. If you want to check out our website, and I really encourage you to do that because you'll see a lot of cool stuff there, go to gogreeninitiative.org. So in the last segment, we were talking about the part of our mission where we're trying to protect children's health from environmental pollutants and toxins and harmful things while they're at school. I want to talk about the other part of our mission, which is conserving natural resources for future generations. We have three main focus areas under that component of our mission, and they are energy conservation, water conservation, and waste reduction. If we can help schools save energy, save water, and reduce waste, That's going to go a long way to conserving the natural resources that our children need, and we need to save for them when they are older. So, of these three focus areas, you'll see on our website quite a bit of case studies and other information about how we've helped school districts with energy conservation. I'll tell you, one of my favorite tools for that is the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. In fact, back in 2019, we had a summer internship of 32 high school and college students. And I taught them to use Portfolio Manager, and we had an agreement with our headquarters city of Pleasanton, California, with the city and with the school district, so that our interns would create Energy Star Portfolio Manager accounts for every public-owned building in the community. So every city-owned building, every school district-owned building, we created an Energy Star Portfolio Manager account for each of those buildings. And we worked with our local utility, Pacific Gas and Electric, to upload using their online portal energy data for the last, couple of years before that 2019 summer internship, so that we could benchmark the energy consumption for each of these buildings and make some recommendations to the city and to the school district. And actually, the students created some pretty sophisticated recommendations that the city and the school district have both used. One of the things that we did with that was that, especially for the school district, there were 15 schools in this school district, and the variety of age of the campuses was wide. We had some of the schools that were built in 1923 all the way up to schools that were pretty new. And the working assumption was, well, our newer schools are probably more energy efficient than our older schools. So if we're going to do energy efficiency work, then we should definitely look at the older schools first. And we said that's probably a good assumption, but let's verify that. And when we looked at the schools' energy use intensity, EUI, that we were able to pull from all of this data in Portfolio Manager, and we were able to run some data, side-by-side data, comparing the energy use intensity, basically the amount of energy that a campus is using per square foot, and we put the schools next to each other. What we found was that some of the newer schools actually were far more energy consuming than some of the older campuses. And we were like, why is that? And so it prompted the school district to do some investigation about why some of their newer campuses were using so much more energy per square foot than even some of their older campuses. And they were able to do some energy efficiency work in those campuses to bring that mega consumption down. Same thing happened with the city buildings. And so energy conservation is one of those things that's such a win-win for everybody. Yes, we're saving, finite, natural resources in the form of finite fossil fuels, if that's where the energy comes from. But there's a lot of money savings as well, especially in public buildings, publicly owned buildings. Whatever taxpayer dollars you're not spending on energy bills is money that you can spend for other things. And in a school district, that means educational purposes. So that's why we really love working on energy conservation with school districts, because besides the environmental benefits, there's also a lot of benefit to the bottom line. Same thing with water conservation. There was a time when we were talking about water conservation back in the early days of the Go Green Initiative in the early 2000s. And a lot of school districts are like, yeah, I get it. I understand why maybe California or Arizona, you guys are in dry states, why you'd be concerned about water conservation, but that's not really a thing here. Well, now it's more of a thing. New Jersey has had unbelievable spats of drought. Parts of the South East have had drought that are historic since that time. And now a lot more school districts are understanding that with that water scarcity, and it can come at different times and it's not every year, but when it comes, a lot of times that means that the water not only becomes scarce and everybody in the community has to learn how to conserve, but it can also mean that water prices go up when, your water utility has to stand on their head and do other things to create water supply when it was easy before, that's more expensive. As water becomes scarce, as drought becomes more, um, you know, readily apparent in areas of the US, water becomes more expensive because it's harder to get. And so a lot of school districts have realized that, again, not just the environmental benefit of water conservation, but the money savings, the cost savings involved with conserving water can be tremendous. And so, we love to help school districts do water conservation. We've had summer internships that have worked on this. In fact, this is really cool. In 2020, our summer internship was the first one that we had to do virtually because we were in COVID and we were in lockdown. And so our students never actually got to meet in real life, but they were spread out over multiple cities in multiple states. And they were working on a full length, feature length documentary about what the history of water and why it's important to conserve water. And it was amazing. It's been viewed, a lot. It's up on our YouTube channel. But their research and the way that they put this together was beautifully done. And you have to check it out. Check it out on our YouTube channel, which you can find. It's linked to our website, gogreeninitiative.org, and check out our student documentary on the history of water and why water is such a scarce and precious resource. And then we get to waste reduction, the third focus area in this part of our mission to conserve natural resources for future generations. And waste reduction is one of those things that, again, because schools are such large institutions, when you think about all of the adults and all of the students that congregate in a school district, in every community, it's a lot of people. And they can create a lot of waste. And that waste might go to local landfills, it might go to a waste to energy facility. But in any case, you've got trucks that are running around picking it up, and then other trucks that are taking it to where it will, its final destination. Lots of fuel involved with that, lots of energy involved with that, lots of cost involved with that. And so we love to work with schools on reducing waste, whether it's through reducing the amount of stuff that they buy, whether it's through recycling, whether it's through composting. This has been one of our biggest success stories. We have helped school districts from sea to shining sea reduce their waste. And in fact, about a year and a half ago, we got a big grant to do this on a large scale on the East Coast, and we are loving it. We also do this on the West Coast in the Bay Area of California. We have funding to staff up and really work hard with some school districts. And the upshot of this is that we have created some resources that are all free on our website that school districts anywhere can use. We were purposeful in creating resources that were meant for school districts to do it yourself. If we don't have the funding to staff up and come into your school district to help you, you can still have all the same resources, all the same tools that we would be using in a school district where we have staff to go in. And if you go to our website, gogreeninitiative.org, and you click on, it's at the top of the page in the home menu, recycling, you'll see all of our resources there. It's good stuff. So take a look at that. I'm really proud of the work that our staff has done there. When you're on our website, you're going to see a couple other things. You're going to see a tab called programs, and we have 5 different programs that we've been doing for a long, long time, couple of decades now. And I want to talk about each one because I think, it will help you understand what we do. You understand what we're about now. You understand why we work on all these different focus areas that I mentioned. But these programs will help you understand how we do that. So the first one is sustainability plan. And I want to talk about why I think this is so important. Before we actually named this a program, we were going into school districts who would say, hey, we want to reduce waste, or hey, we really need help with energy conservation. And they would focus entirely on the fastest possible solution to a sliver of their sustainability footprint. And that was okay. We were fine doing that. We still will. But one of the things that we found is that the school districts that were the most successful took a minute, took a breath, and we helped them to create a more comprehensive strategy to really look at, let's say, even if all they wanted to focus on was energy conservation, to really look at all of the ways that they could be dealing with this issue, all of the people who are involved, all the resources they need, maybe partnerships that they need, and really put together a strategic plan. That's what a sustainability plan is. And if you check out this part of our website, you'll see how the sustainability plan has played out in a couple of districts and some of our case studies. But one of the things that I want to underscore is that when a district takes the time to put together a district green team, when they put together a group of leaders in the district to look at how each of their departments is impacting, say, energy or water or whatever you know they want to work on, if they just want to tackle one issue, it goes a lot smoother than having somebody who's mid-level to low level in the district organization and staff, having somebody who's higher up in the school district say, hey, we need to conserve energy, go figure it out. And one of the things that happens when a school district takes that approach is that that mid or lower level school district staff employee may not even know how some of the departments outside of their own might be impacted by their work. When a school district puts together a district green team and the leadership of the organization to include the leadership of education, the leadership of operations, when they look at a comprehensive map, and we help with this, of course, how every component of their district needs to be involved in whether it's energy, water, waste, what have you, this sustainability issue that they're going to tackle, we can help them create a plan that is fully comprehensive, leaves no one out, leaves nothing, that you uncover later, and make sure that when you roll out your plan, everybody who needs to be on board and needs to be involved is trained, is ready, and capable of rolling out that plan. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the other programs of the Go Green Initiative. So thanks for joining us. Don't go away. There's more Go Green Radio right after this. Welcome back to Go Green Radio. I'm so excited that you joined us today and so excited to be sharing the ins and outs of my nonprofit organization, the Go Green Initiative. It's been around for 23 years. We're still going strong, and we love working with school districts of all types. I mean, we work with small rural school districts, we work with large urban school districts, and everything in between, sea to shining sea. And here's what I really want to express to those of you who are listening right now. I want you to know what we believe. And this is something that's not just me as the founder, but also our staff, our consultants, everybody who works with us. We have kind of a core set of beliefs that drives our work. We believe that children deserve to live in a healthy world, and moreover, that they deserve to learn in a healthy school environment. Kids are counting on us. They don't have a lot of control over things like the indoor air quality, whether or not their drinking water is clean, whether or not the food they're being served is healthy and free of toxins. They're really at the mercy of responsible adults to make sure that they're learning in a healthy environment. We also believe that education leaders and the community at large, especially in public school districts, have a responsibility to protect children's health while they're at school. We don't think it's okay if kids get sick because the school learning conditions and the facilities, which are a public responsibility, are substandard and unhealthy. We just don't think that's okay. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And a lot of school districts need a lot of help to rectify those situations. And we recognize that, we support them, and we advocate for that. But that's one of our core beliefs. We also believe that natural resources should be used to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. If that sounds familiar, that's a UNESCO definition of sustainable development. We believe that. Yes, we want folks right now, right here, to live well, but not at the expense of future generations' ability to live well and to meet their own needs, whether that's a need for natural resources, a need for a clean environment. That's another thing we believe. And the final thing that I want to share with you about our core beliefs is that we believe that education leaders do have a responsibility to conserve natural resources at school and to role model that for children and show them what it means to be a good environmental steward. And I sometimes I feel bad saying that because education leaders are under so much pressure. They have so much on their plate. They have more to do than it's possible to do in many regards because they don't have enough staff to do all the things that we need to do. But I'm talking about the little things. I know of a lot of organizations that do what they call edutainment. They'll go in, do a puppet show about recycling for the third graders. And that's great. But if they go back to class and every day they see their teacher putting paper in the trash instead of in a recycling bin, or they go to the principal's office and they see the principal putting his or her, can of whatever beverage into the trash instead of the recycling can, those lessons mean a lot and they impact kids a lot. If they are constantly exposed to the adults in their world treating the earth like trash, no matter what we say, no matter what we show them, in edutainment and, school assemblies, the lesson is undone if the adults don't show kids how to do it. So those are a few things that I want to share with you that are really at the heart of what we're trying to do. And it's not because we want to put pressure, more pressure than there already is on education leaders. We want to help. We want to help education leaders be those role models of environmental stewardship for kids. I want to talk a little bit about another one of our programs that you'll see on our website, utility analysis and reduction. We like to help school districts save money by wasting less. And so we go in and we help school districts save energy, save water, reduce waste in ways that I've already talked about a little bit already. But we really like to help school districts save money on these utilities, and that money can be applied to other things that improve education. I also want to talk to you about a program that I love with all my heart. It's called Local Leaders of the 21st Century. And if you go to this section on our website, if you go to the home menu, the navigation at the top of the page, click on programs, scroll down to Local Leaders of the 21st Century. You will see the most adorable high school students from many, many years that you've ever seen doing amazing work. Local Leaders of the 21st Century is a program that I'd love to have some more sponsors of, more, individual donors for, because this is a program where we take high school students and we introduce them to their local public policy makers, whether it's at the city or their school district. And we help the high school students work together with their local public policy makers to address local environmental issues, whatever they may be. In some, cities that might be litter abatement. It might be water conservation in another city. It might be, um, you know, air quality issues. whatever it is that's impacting environmental public policy in their local area, we help these high school students get involved. And we've had high school students, create marketing materials that cities have used to help people recycle, right? We've had, students create materials that they take to farmers markets every Saturday morning and talk to residents about various local environmental issues. It's so awesome. And these students, many of them go on to pursue careers, whether it's in engineering or English, doesn't matter, careers that help create a more sustainable world. And you'll read about some of their comments there about how this program, this extracurricular club that was, at their high school, really changed their lives and helped them understand how to be literally a local leader in their community. And it's pretty cool. Kind of along those same lines, but a little bit more of a job than a club, is our internship program. And when we've had the funding to do these internship programs, it has been remarkable. And actually, we have all of the annual reports for a few years from the internships up on our website. And some of these students, I talked about the project to do energy benchmarking in 2019 for every publicly owned building in Pleasanton, California. That was one of our interns' projects. But some of these summer internships, the ones we have coming up this year on the East Coast, they are working on community recycling, helping residents and businesses know what is recyclable in their local community and why it's so important for their community to not put recycling in the trash because of where their trash goes. And I'm really excited. When the summer's over, we're going to be able to post their report. And this internship program is both for high school and college students. And we're also doing an internship program this summer on the West Coast and really looking forward to that as well. I want to talk a little bit about GGI Academy because this has been a program that's been like a vision of mine for almost 10 years and it's finally coming to fruition. Ever since the first time I saw the Khan Academy, where it was like you can learn, kids can learn math and reading and all these things on the Khan Academy, just brilliant, free online learning. I was like, we should do that for the Go Green Initiative. Let's create online courses so that school districts anywhere can get a hold of our material, can get a hold of how we do things as if we were sitting right next to them, training them on how to deal with these environmental issues at their school campus. Let's put it online. And we're finally launching that. And I'm so excited. I ended up getting my master's degree in online teaching and learning back in 2018. And, we're finally, after many years, we have the funding thanks to SoCal Gas. Thank you guys for helping us to launch GGI Academy. And there's going to be more and more courses being added to that throughout time. We're going to be adding hundreds of different little vignettes and lessons and quick hits. We're in it for busy school district administrators and school district employees who don't have a lot of time to sit and take training. We're going to hit it quick. We're going to get you the information you need to take action. And I'm really excited about the GGI Academy. You know, I really can't talk about the success of the Go Green Initiative without mentioning that we have a lot of partners. We partner with, and we have from the very beginning. I talked in the first segment about how we partnered with state PTAs and the National School Boards Association, which is still one of our primary partners to this day. So I want to take a moment to mention some of these vital and really meaningful partnerships. The National School Boards Association is an organization that I just love and I really admire. They really try to help school districts um, handle what's coming at them at every age, at every stage of our nation's history with public education. There have been challenges and to funding, to infrastructure, all of these things. And the National School Boards Association helps school districts gain the training and professional development they need to address these things to keep providing outstanding public education throughout our country. We are partnered with them for a 5-year program to improve indoor air quality nationwide in schools. And I love them. I love working with them. We also work with the American Lung Association. They also received a grant in the last year to work on indoor air quality in schools, and we collaborate with them on a monthly basis. In fact, I just wrote an article about some of the work that they're doing in the Upper Midwest. It'll be coming out in the August edition of the National School Boards Association's magazine. And I just truly respect all of the work and the research that they provide in order to help policymakers and local decision makers make data informed choices about air quality and help people understand how important air quality is to health. I also want to mention the Center for Green Schools at USGBC. A few months ago, I had their director, Anissa Hemming, on Go Green Radio. They are another organization that works tirelessly to help school districts with a number of different sustainability issues. They hold a national conference every year that is not to be missed, and I love partnering with that organization. I also want to mention the BASIC Coalition, and if you're not familiar with that organization, BASIC stands for Build America's School Infrastructure Coalition. And if you go to basic-coalition.org, you'll see their website there. We're a member of the BASIC Coalition. They are advocating for federal funding for school infrastructure. A lot of our schools were built in the mid last century. There are, entire school districts where their aging infrastructure is such a huge issue for their school districts. And BASIC is the organization at the forefront of advocating for more funding to upgrade. I mean, it was all public funding that built those schools back in the 50s and the 60s. We need another influx, just like we had back then, to modernize or rebuild those school districts and those campuses, and to remember our nation's former investment in public education infrastructure, and to go back to those days of making sure that our children are in healthy and well-constructed learning environments. I also want to mention the Healthy School Network, and I want to mention the California Alliance for Children's Environmental Health. We are affiliated with both of those fine organizations, and I'd encourage you to Google both of them and look at their websites. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we have much more to talk about, so don't go away, folks. There's more Go Green Radio right after this. Welcome back to Go Green Radio. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and thanks for indulging me. A lot of times I love having guests on. We do great conversations with experts, but today I wanted to devote the show to my day job, my nonprofit organization, the Go Green Initiative, which has been around since 2002. We've been talking about the work that we do. We've been talking about why we do it, how we do it, some of the partners that we work with. And now I want to talk about how we continue to do this work. We are an organization with staff, costs money. We should and we need to pay decent wages. And so a lot of our funding comes from sponsorships. And I want to talk about some of the companies that have sponsored the Go Green Initiative and what they gain. What's in it for them when they become sponsors of the Go Green Initiative. I mentioned when I was talking about one of our programs, the GGI Academy, that was only made possible after, wanting to do this for almost a decade, it was really a sponsorship from SoCal Gas that helped us to launch GGI Academy. And I'm so grateful to them. They've been a longtime partner with the Go Green Initiative. And, one of the things that you might wonder is like, well, why do companies sponsor your organization? What do they get out of it? And I think there are four main things that companies get from sponsoring the Go Green Initiative. They get to support programs that really make a difference. We can quantify the difference that we make in school districts. We can tell you how much cleaner the air is. We can tell you what we've done to provide, school districts with the support to create healthy drinking water. We can quantify how much energy, how much water we save, how much waste we reduce. Companies that partner with the Go Green Initiative and sponsor us have access to that kind of data. I mean, real key performance indicators about the difference that we made in local school districts. I think that a lot of companies that when I ask them, what keeps you coming back? Because we have other companies that have sponsored us and continue to sponsor us. And they say, we want to be a part of making an impact. We want to directly contribute to improving the lifelong outcomes for students. And when we see, what you're doing in these school districts, when we hear from the students who've been part of your programs, it's clear that the Go Green Initiative is making a real impact in human beings' lives. And so that's something that we are excited. A few years ago, ENGIE was one of the sponsors of one of our big summer internship programs. And we had all of our interns at the end of the summer make a video of what the internship meant to them. And we put it together and we sent it to NG Corporate and they showed it at, I forget what the meeting was. It was a big corporate meeting. And yeah, I was later told there were tears streaming down people's faces. They were so proud that their company had been a part of something that had been such a meaningful part of these kids' lives. And a lot of these kids were, in communities that frankly, there aren't a lot of these types of opportunities. We tend to work in communities that are lower income, under-resourced communities. And the company folks were really proud that they were part of making a real impact. I think another reason that companies, enjoy sponsoring the Go Green Initiative is because a lot of companies have sustainability goals. A lot of companies are trying to save energy. A lot of them are trying to, ensure that they don't create a pollution and toxins out in the environment. And our work aligns with their sustainability goals and it helps bring their corporate sustainability goals right down to young children in a school district, and it allows the company to show, hey, we're committed to families, we're committed to children and schools, and we really mean it when we say we care about these sustainability goals, and that's why we're enabling the work of the Go Green Initiative. And I think the fourth reason that I hear from a lot of our corporate sponsors about why they want to support the Go Green Initiative is that it allows them to connect with an engaged audience. We have a really healthy social media presence. We have, a lot of people looking at our newsletter, at our website, and listening to our podcast like you. And so it gives companies an opportunity to show those audiences that they're part of the same mission, that they care about some of the same things. So if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, if your company would like to be a part of that, reach out, contact me. Here's my email, Jill Buck, JILLBUCK at gogreeninitiative.org, or you can just get on our website and hit the contact button and send us an email. It'll come right to me. Um, you know, a lot of people ask me because on our website it says that our vision is environmental justice for every child in every school. And people ask me, what do you mean by that? What does environmental justice mean in a school setting? And I want to take a moment to explain that. There are really three things that we mean when we talk about environmental justice for every child in every school. First of all, we would like to see environmental laws, regulations, and policies enforced in our schools. Sometimes it's amazing to me that we have outdoor air that's very regulated, things we shouldn't be breathing, and no regulation to keep some of those same things out of the indoor air quality when, that's where we spend a lot of our time. And so we want to see environmental protection, all of these laws that we have on the books. We want to make sure that the adults and children in school buildings are protected in the same way. Um, we also feel like no child in any school, whether it's an affluent school, a low income school, or anything in between, should bear a disproportionate amount of the negative environmental consequences that result from, environmental pollution. You know, if you've got a zip code in one part of your state where the children are bearing a huge burden of pollution, and a zip code in another part of your state where the children are not bearing that burden, their outcomes are often very different. When you look at the lifelong outcomes of children who grow up with a lot of pollution versus those who do not, um, on an average, the children who are growing up without that pollution are going to have other opportunities than children who might bear a lifelong burden of heavy environmental pollution. And we would love to see no child have to bear all of that pollution. We also, the third thing we mean when we say environmental justice for every child in every school is that adults and students in the school community get a chance to participate in decisions that will impact their environment or their health, that they get a chance to have their concerns considered when decisions are being made, and that they should be able to expect that their decision makers will seek out and facilitate the involvement of those who would be affected. That's what we mean. So if we're talking about, you know, indoor air quality, that students and teachers who are in those classrooms get a chance to tell decision makers what's going on, what improved indoor air quality would mean to them, and have a chance to be part of creating solutions. That's what we mean. And that's our vision. So I also want to talk about some of our goals, because though we are 23 years of age in terms of our organization, we continue to strive for more and better. And so our big goals for 2025 and 2026 are, well, we want to keep working with communities that have the biggest challenges and bring resources, bring training, bring funding, bring people that will positively impact kids in those communities. Um, we also want to continue to democratize what we do by making our tools and our trainings free and on demand so anybody, anywhere can get a hold of what we do. That's a big goal. And we'd like to add some board members. I would love to have a larger governance board. We'd love to have industry experts who want to make a difference in schools and care enough about kids' well-being that they will champion the Go Green initiative to their networks and open up new partnership opportunities for us. And so if that's something that you are interested in or somebody you know is interested in, um, shoot me an email. Again, Jill Buck at gogreeninitiative.org. A lot of people ask me, hey, how can I get involved? What can I do? We don't have a huge volunteer organization because a lot of the work that we do is very technical and it is full-time plus. And some of it just cannot be done by volunteers. We're working with school district administrators and staff to do very technical things. But you can donate. You can get out on our website and familiarize yourself with it and share it with others. You can sign up for our newsletter. At the bottom of our website, there's a place to sign up. You can follow us on social media and amplify our message. Those are all things, great things that you can do to help the Go Green Initiative continue its mission. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today and for listening to this explanation of what I do all day, every day. I love this organization. I think the Go Green Initiative is really making a difference in a lot of places. I appreciate your support, and I'm going to be here same time, same place next week with more Go Green Radio. So until then, have a wonderful week and do something in your life to go green.